Mantra, we arrive at what is it and where did it come from and why do we repeat these words again and again. And man means mind, or manas means the mind, and tra is like a tool or a technique. So mantras are said to be really tools in which we float or move across the ocean of the fluctuations of the mind. The mind always in vritti, in fluctuation, right? Chasing the latest drama. Might have a different name than last month, but it's still that same cyclical mind loop. And mantras really come in so many different forms, in the sense that they're definitely written into the Vedas. You hear about them in the Upanishads, in these ancient texts. And really the first mantra said to, be recognized as 3,000 years old in this tradition. But I'm assuming since sound, and I've read that since we've been able to create sound, we've returned again to simple sounds that resonate and that awaken something and that remind us of something. So really what makes the human species possible is our ability to make sound and to have subtleties and really complex sound formations. Thank you to our tongue structure, our throat, and our mouth and our lips, and the way we're able to use them. We're able to create subtle and complex sounds. And from those, how do we use them, of course, with each other? And if we think about what we repeat internally on an internal loop in our minds, what we're saying to ourselves all day, not always want to hang out there, right? I don't want to hang out in those thought loops, but we do. That's where we hang out. And so many of them tend to be about fear or self-doubt or pressures that we place or things not being good enough the way we are. And mantra is a potent way in which maybe we can move from those fluctuations, move from that constant loop toward a place that is a place of remembering. So similar to the Om, from this resonance of something that is beyond ourselves, something that was here before, something that will be here after, right? All of this, all that we see is actually quite temporary. And there's something in the mantras that remind us of that infinite. And we can get super detailed about it. We can dive into the science of Sanskrit and sound. We can also be sweetly calling to any of these aspects, any of these various forms that resonate with us or that we're calling to. And in those resonance, attempting to move again from our fluctuations, from our loops, into a still point, into a point that is a space of remembering. Really an instrument of our thoughts. That's how we can use mantra. And as I understand it, mantra is handed down from a teacher. So a mantra really comes from a teacher's understanding of where you are on the path and what is most needed for you at this moment. And yet right now, mantra is opening up a little bit more. It's a less of an individual. We're having more of a collective mantra offered down maybe from a collective teacher. And that might mean, again, something that's happening in the world. And so there is a mantra that's arising, Shanti, peace. And it could be Shanti in Sanskrit or in your native tongue, peace, 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 that you're calling for in the midst of all of the drama that is always unfolding, and sometimes a little bit more than others. For me, mantra comes alive in intention, in the way in which we intend and carry forth a sankalpa, really a heart's longing. And there have been times I've really needed to call on a fierceness, a compassionate fierceness, and that is when I invoke Durga. There are times when I need to call on grounding and settling into the moment, settling into what it is to arrive here, grounded in presence. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. I call to Ganesh. There are times I simply need vastness, spaciousness, presence. Om, Om, Om. Times right now, globally and locally, Om Shanti, 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 for peace, peace, peace. The mantras can be so long and complex. We can focus on every single detail of the tongue formation, the mouth, or we can simply float on their vibration and their resonance. We can use them loud and audibly. We can say them out loud. We can whisper them, or we can say them silently inside. Girish mentioned the 3 forms of practice, and in his book, really, we can dive into those. How they vary in an audible, external, in a more silent, vibrational, in a more subtle, internal. So we can play around with those as we go. And really, all of these practices are encapsulated in part of bhakti. Bhakti is really the notion of participation. It's the practice of devotion, the practice of the heart, of really returning to that center point within us. So how intention, sankalpa, heart's longing, invokes devotion. And devotion lives in mantra. Even if you're reciting the words and you feel nothing, Shanti, 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 Gang Ganapataye Namaha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha. Something's in that, something's resonant in that, somewhere from your intention, your heart's longing, your sankalpa, that will eventually awaken. So even if we just sort of start reciting, and then the resonance wake up, or we feel a little more spacious, just even a tiny bit more spacious after. All the way to the really complex mantras I've been handed down from my teachers that I've sat with for years, that sometimes I'm so bored at saying them, reciting them. Sometimes I feel so enlivened, but almost always after, there's something that happens that is beyond me explaining to you, beyond any words that I can use. And that's a resonance, that's an aliveness, a remembrance, an awakening, however you want to describe it, that carries me from delusion, that carries me, even for a moment, confusion into some greater awareness or some sweeter stillness. So mantra, as we play with this form of using words, bringing our attention toward a particular aspect, honing our attention from scattered from all different directions, bringing it in. And so far I've been talking about the individual mantra, and then of course there's a collective mantra. There is what we do together in a group. And if you're leading chanting, if you're just wanting to lead chanting, wherever you are on this path, that then you bring in the collective resonance. Not only all of your various voices, all of your various thoughts that are pinging you in all different directions throughout a moment, throughout a day, throughout a season or a lifetime, and bringing it into a single focal point. But now you're bringing other people's thoughts, their histories, all into a focal point. Even on Om, on any of the mantras, that we can all come together, all resonate our voice in a particular tone, in a particular direction. This is the power, the potency of mantra, and the fact that it has been around for 3,000 years. And that's a number. It's so easy to just say that number. But think of all the lifetimes, all the beings that have threaded the first Om, the first mantra, all the way into the now moment. So it's gone through all of those lifetimes, those birth and death cycles, all the way to here and now. And to me, when I'm calling these chants, calling these mantras, I'm so reminded of all of them that have ever been, all the sounds that have been made to get to this moment. And then from this moment, that ripple effect to whatever future, whatever might come from them, and that they might carry, and they might carry. And when I hear someone in Asia calling a mantra that I really just sat there and played with and found somewhere within myself a decade or so ago, it makes me so happy. That is the ripple. That is both the history, the presence, and the future. This is the power of mantra to carry us from past, present to future, and to really carry an essence as we travel the great wild terrain of our own mind and use these tools of vibration, both external, whispered, and internal. Om Shanti, 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 Om.